There are only two types of ADV riders, and I think a lot of the conflict and argument we see in the community comes from each of these groups fundamentally misunderstanding the other, though one is definitely more to blame. Before we jump in, I just want to say thanks to QuadLock for sponsoring this video. If you look at the marketing and a lot of the content surrounding ADV riding, it's easy to get the impression that every off-road motorcycle rider out there is looking to go as fast as possible on the hardest terrain they can find. I won't go into the whole marketing thing too much here because I covered it in my last ADV hot takes video, which I'll link for you, but I'm sure you're aware that the vast majority of manufacturer ads and marketing material features power slides, jumps, and ridiculous terrain that 95% of us will not be willing to attempt to ride or probably even see in our lifetimes. Comment sections and forums are often infected by this same virus. Every budget-friendly or entry-level bike is underpowered and overweight and therefore sucks. Any bike that isn't a KTM 890 can't do anything off-road and is a total waste of money. This cultural phenomenon, and by culture I mean our ADV community culture, is based on a fundamental misconception which I will now shatter. It's okay to not want to go as fast as possible and ride the hardest terrain you can find. Some of us aren't out there to get the adrenaline pumping, some of us just want to explore. For some people, the riding is the point. They want to go fast, power slide, jump, and test themselves and their riding ability every time they go out. These people see the trail and the obstacles and are far less concerned with the surroundings and the scenery. I call these people the thrill seekers. Other people got into ADV because they just want to go places and see things. They still think riding is fun, but they're far more concerned with looking around and taking in the views than they are with finding the absolute hardest roads and trails to ride as fast as possible. To them, riding difficult terrain is a means to an end. They want to see the cool stuff, and sometimes difficult riding is between them and that goal. I call this group the explorers. Thrill seekers often do not understand explorers. For them, there's no point in riding if you're not on the fastest and most well-equipped bike available. They can't imagine how putting along through the woods on a TW200 could possibly be fun unless you're pushing it to the breaking point. They don't care about reliability or maintenance intervals. A bike is either as fast as possible or it isn't. Nothing else matters. This misunderstanding is where I think a lot of the conflict comes from. A thrill seeker sees a 430-pound ADV bike with only 44 horsepower and a budget suspension setup as objectively worse than a KTM 890 with 100 horsepower and a premium suspension setup. The fact that the slower bike costs half as much is not a factor. Value is not a concern. Comfort is barely a concern. All they care about is speed and suspension because they want to ride fast and hard. An explorer sees a bike that is comfortable and capable enough for what they want to do. An Ibex 450 and an 890 Adventure will go 90% of the same places. The biggest difference is how fast you get there. No matter which kind of rider you are, you're probably going to need to navigate using your phone at some point. If you want to keep your phone visible, accessible, fully charged, and protected while riding, you can't beat the QuadLock system. Those of us who ride off-road need a phone mounting system that can stand up to the vibrations and rapid movements and also unscheduled dismounts that come with riding uneven terrain. I've personally been using the QuadLock system for 8 years now. I've had it on every bike I have ever owned, from my humble beginnings on the CRF 250L all the way up to last year's BDR Adventure on my KTM 790 Adventure. The QuadLock system has two parts. The first is a custom-fit phone case for your specific model of phone. QuadLock has hundreds of options for all major brands, so they're sure to have a case for whatever's in your pants. The case features a slim profile and is durable and sturdy as hell. I drop my phone all the time, like twice yesterday. I wish I was kidding, and I've never had a single issue with the QuadLock case. It has always protected it. The second part of the system is the mount itself, which can be attached to the handlebars, crossbar, rear view mirror, fork stem bolt, brake reservoir cap, or a million other places. Once attached to the bike, the phone mount is quick and easy to use, but will hold your phone securely no matter what kind of terrain you're riding. The vibration dampener protects your phone's camera and other sensitive electronics from damage. I have never had a camera problem, and I've used QuadLocks on some of the most vibrating thumpers out there, looking at you, KLR 650. With a wireless charging head, my phone is constantly at full power, even when leaving the navigation app open on the screen. Pop over to quadlockcase.com and use their interactive configurator tool to build the perfect mount and case setup for your bike and your needs. Link in the description. Let me back up for a second because, as the saying goes, only a Sith deals in absolutes. Explorer versus thrill seeker is not a strict binary. It's not one or the other. It's more of a continuum, and everyone is kind of a combination of the two. You can also shift back and forth depending on the day, the terrain, and which bike you're riding. But for the sake of simplicity, let's call it a scale of 1 to 10. Explorer being a 1 and thrill seeker being a 10, and most of us lie somewhere in between. As an example, when I first started out, I was a solid 1. All I wanted to do was get cool places and see stuff, and I didn't care how long it took me to get there. I didn't seek out hard riding, and in fact, actively avoided it where possible. I didn't see the point, it scared me, I just didn't want to do it. As my skills have improved, and I've learned the joys of riding fast and taking on more difficult riding, I've definitely shifted more towards thrill seeker. I still consider myself more explorer, but these days, instead of a 1, I'm probably more like a 3 or 4. So I'm still on the explorer side, but I like to do some thrill seekery things in the middle, every once in a while, maybe even a 5. When I'm on a dirt bike riding single track trails, well, that sometimes shifts as far over as like a 6. I don't think I'll ever be a hardcore thrill seeker. I'm an explorer at heart, but I do see the appeal and fun of riding harder and faster from time to time. But here's the problem. A lot of the angry commenters you see online think they are supposed to want to be thrill seekers because that's the image that's been forced into their brain by marketing and certain content creators, and because, let's be honest, it looks super cool. So you've got a lot of keyboard warriors out there shit-talking people who are just trying to have realistic adventures, while said shit-talkers never remove their asses from their couches. So while there are 2 types of ADV riders, there seem to be 3 types of ADV commenters. There are explorers, there are thrill seekers, and there are the group that I'm lovingly calling posers. Posers are the people who consume a lot of content and feel entitled to share their feelings about what's the right and wrong way to ride ADV without actually ever riding anything with more horsepower than a toilet seat or taking in any scenery beyond the pretty paintings in their grandma's bathroom. Anyone who has actually done the thing is not going to criticize you or your bike choices. Everybody starts somewhere. Nobody is born Chris Birch. Even he had to work up to it. At the end of the day, adventure is for everyone, and it's up to you to decide what adventure means to you. There is no right or wrong way to go out and ride an ADV bike. Camp or don't. Go fast or go slow. Explore or seek thrills. Neither is wrong. I apologize if I seem to make the same point over and over. I just see all the negativity and feel like it's my job to offer an alternate perspective as often as possible. I have heard from so many of you who just needed that final push to get out there and chase your own adventures, and it's my goal to push as many of you off the cliff as I can. At the end of the day, there are 2 types of adventure riders. You're either an explorer or a thrill seeker or a combination of the 2. Most of us are a combination of the 2. So what type of rider are you? Where do you fall on the explorer versus thrill seeker continuum? More on the low side, on the explorer? Are you a 2 or 3, or are you more on the high side? I'm a thrill seeker who likes to see scenery once in a while, like an 8 or a 9. Let us know in the comments. Admittedly, this is a pretty complicated topic. There's way too much to it to cover and define it in 8 minutes of a video on the internet, but I wanted to at least throw out some terms so we can get the conversation started and maybe build some common vocabulary. Before I go, I just want to say thanks to Quadlock once again for sponsoring this video. I'll put a link in the description to Quadlock so you can check out their cases and mounts and build your own setup that works perfectly for your bike. Also, while you're here, if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing for more ADV dual sport commentary, trips, advice, bike reviews, and all of that stuff, because I'm the dork in the road and I want to be your internet riding buddy, and I'm better than your regular riding buddies because I come with the mute button. Thank you for watching, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!
I still want to see cool stuff, but sometimes when you're riding trails, and the point is the riding of the trails, well, that is the point of the riding. Just cut that whole thing.